What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Pub Sports Radio Draftkings Picks and Prediction Show. Be sure to tune in every Tuesday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, where me, Weezy, Luke, and AJ are going to break down this upcoming card from a DFS perspective and give all of our predictions for the fights as well. Also, be sure to leave a like and subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. Just recently hit 10K. Thank you guys so much for that. That's awesome. Great milestone there. Leave a like if you do appreciate the content. It really does help us out as well. As always, we're going to go through our fight to target, our fight to fade, fighter to fade, favorite dog, favorite GPP play, favorite cash play, favorite value play, favorite dart throw as well. Give our quick picks, and then we'll go over who won the contest last week, and then give our lineups for this week as well. We'll start it off with Uncle Weezy. Uncle Weezy, what is up? Are you looking forward to this card? And what are your initial thoughts on this card from a DFS perspective as well?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this card. A lot of violent spots on it. Coming off last week, we had so many great fights, but I think there's going to a lot of great stylistic matchups on this fight as well. As far as from a DraftKings perspective, I kind of like being right in the mid-range, which is kind of what I liked last week as well. A lot of the mid-range guys are the guys that got it done. And I think it's going to be very much the same this week, because I see some of the mid-range guys seem to have better finishing potential than some of the people up there in the 9,000 range. So I think it's going to be a good week to get a little bit different and not spend too much of your salary in the top range.
Yep, I know my lineup does have some salary left on the table, actually. Luke, what is up with you? Are you looking forward to the card? And what are your initial thoughts on this card from a DFS perspective?
Yeah, it should be a fun one. I think the main word that sticks out to me is just volatility up and down this one, which always makes it interesting from a DraftKings perspective, because I think it gives you a lot of different options, and I think you can approach and just go about lineup construction in multiple different ways. So it should be a fun show.
For sure. And last but not least, AJ, what is up, and what are your final or first thoughts on this DFS slate here?
Yeah, first thoughts, call it recency bias or what have you, but we've got a lot of top-heavy fighters that we could expect to come through in the upper tier and do so with a big score. We've been very fortunate these past couple weeks with the big favorites coming through and coming through with a big DraftKings score. So perhaps that trend continues, but I really like the point that Uncle Weezy brought up and Luke about the volatility, taking advantage of the mid-range. I think there's a lot of fights to target heavily, both sides and GBPs. And that's where we'll look to be contrarian. Cash games, I'm going to go a little bit stars and scrubsy like I usually do. But in tournaments, I think there's a couple interesting pivot spots that we'll get to.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think this is going to be a very good card. Maybe not the most name value, but a lot of these fights I think are going to deliver. It's not going to be like a 266, but I think it'll be a very, very fun card with a lot of violence as well. Do want to shout out the chat. We have Pocket QB Lamar Jackson in here saying, get it. Roy in the chat as well. Mystic Sosa, Hawkamania, Asphalt, and Tajik. Thank you all for hanging out. If you guys can leave a like, that would be much, much appreciated as always. I say we get into it. So as always, we're going to start with the fight to target. And we'll start with Uncle Weezy. Uncle Weezy, what is your fight to target for UFC Vegas 38?
I'm going to go with one of the laziest selections that you could possibly make, and it's just going to be the main event, Santos Walker. Look, I mean, it's got by far the best fight doesn't go to decision line on the card. If you're talking about fighters that knock their opponents down and get knocked down by their opponents, Santos and Walker fit the bill to knock down the highest scoring play in fantasy sports when you're talking about MMA. And, when you're always looking for somebody that's going to finish a fight, and both of these guys are proven finishers, and then you add to the fact that it's 5 rounds, makes it the easiest by far fight for me to target.
Yep, sounds good, Weezy. I'm going to be lazy right there with you. My fight to target is also going to be Santos versus Johnny Walker. A minus 500 fight doesn't go to decision. I saw on one book, I think it was maybe DraftKings Sportsbook, it was like minus 600, minus 650. Fight doesn't go to decision. Like, regardless, this fight is going to finish. Somebody's going to score a lot of points. It's really hard for me to lean one way or another, but I do like the price savings on Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker, if he does win, there's a very good chance that it is going to be in the first round, but we have seen Thiago Santos, go into the later rounds, be more proven than a Johnny Walker. But regardless, I think someone's getting finished, whether it's, Johnny Walker early, Thiago Santos could be early as well, or late. I think someone's going to sleep here, and I think the winner is going to, more often than not, probably be on the optimal lineup in this fight. Luke, what are you looking for a fight to target on this card?
Yeah, I was kind of right there with you, but I figured at least a few people would say it. So I'm just going to bump it down one notch. I'm going with Smith Mullarkey. just right behind them. It's the second most likely fight to end inside the distance, roughly about 70% of the time. Both guys, perennial finishers, in their combined wins have a 96% finish rate. Conversely, Smith's been finished in both of his losses and Mullarkey in 2 of his 4. In my opinion, a Smith W is more so predicated on a knockout, as per historics, but also, Mullarkey's shown some defensive inefficiencies as well. I also have some potential questions on Smith being fragile, and, Mullarkey will throw, coupled with him being a guy to attempt a significant amount of takedowns. And that is still a component of Smith's game that we do have some question marks on. You got to go back to his fight, I think 5 years ago with John Gunther, where he was out-wrestled over the course of that fight and finished on the ground. In that time frame, I'm assuming he got better, but we don't 100% know for sure. So I think Mullarkey might have a path on the ground. Either way, I largely see this fight finishing and putting up an optimal score.
Yeah, I like that look 100%. And, there's so many fights we could have picked for, fights to target. I think a lot of these fights are fights we're going to want to look out for. AJ, do you have the same one as me and Weezy or Luke, or are you going a little bit different here?
I like to be contrarian just as much as the next guy. However, I want to give objectively what I think is the best fight to target. I think you guys nailed it with Santos and Walker. 5 rounds in the main event. The over-under is set at 1.5 rounds. Johnny Walker in his 6 UFC fights, 5 of them finished inside the first round, and then the 6th one was against Nikita Krylov, a grappling heavy fight. We know that Santos doesn't really employ a wrestling oriented game plan, and so fight should be contested on the feet, very high volatile. What we were alluding to when we kicked off this card, and get this, Johnny Walker, 31% striking defense. That's atrocious, and he's coming off of a fight against Ryan Spahn where he was knocked down twice. Also knocked down by Corey Anderson, not usually a big hitter for light heavyweight standards. And we know that Santos, while his durability has looked better at light heavyweight, he still has been knocked out by guys in the past that aren't one-hitter quitter type punchers like David Brandt. So just a lot of action. I think this will be a fun fight to watch, but also an interesting one from a DFS perspective, as I do think that the winner has a strong chance to finish and put up a big score. So I'm very intrigued with this one.
Right there with you. Anything else stick out to you guys in terms of fights to target?
There's a ton, man. You could throw so many in here.
Everyone, right? David's bringing up Andrade, Perello, both likely to finish. I can see it. I can see a finish on either side there for sure. So yeah, you're right, Luke. A lot of these fights we could very well target. Now this one's the hard one, right? It was easy to pick a fight to target, but for me, it was really hard to pick a fight to fade. So Luke, what is your fight to fade for this week?
So for this one, I am going with the most obvious one. I'm going Rosa Correia. But what I will say is if you're doing large field builds, I actually wouldn't completely fade it just based on the fact that Correia is 38 years old now. This is her retirement fight. Rosa does come forward, throw a lot of strikes. She is aggressive. Correia isn't exactly, the most defensively proficient girl out there in the world. So once again, large field builds, I don't necessarily think I would fade it outright as a whole, because I think Rosa could potentially be a sneaky pivot play up at the top. But gun to my head, if I had to pick a fight to fade, it would be this one. Worst ITD line on the card at roughly 30%. Rosa hasn't finished a fight in the UFC, and Correia's fights have hit the cards 66% of the time in the UFC, with a couple of those finishes coming in the 3rd round as well. So this would be the one I would look to fade personally.
Weezy, what is your fight to fade for this week?
Yeah, I'm right there with Luke on this one. I don't see much upside out of Correia. Both of these ladies' takedown defense is above 85%. So I see it being mainly a striking battle, and striking battles just don't score as high as grappling battles, plain and simple. So even though I see Rosa throwing a lot of volume and even having a potential to finish here, it's hard to find many fights to fade on this card. So I had to go with this one.
Yep, for sure. And then AJ, what is your fight to fade for this week?
Yeah, a little bit off the board. I'm pretty nervous about fading Rosa outright, just because historically she's got a very DraftKings friendly style. Even when she doesn't finish fights, she just fights at such a crazy pace. She grapples. She's got good control. One that I'm just sort of least interested in, specifically the fighter 9K above that I think is just least likely. Well, one of them least likely to put up a big score is the Alejandro Perez in the Johnny Eduardo fight. 9,100, or excuse me, sorry, Alejandro Perez, and yeah, 9,100 and 7,100 for the Eduardo side. Big age gap here in favor of Perez. But historically, he's just not a big DraftKings scorer. He averages, less than 3.5 significant strikes per minute with, just very little takedown upside, 0.52 takedowns with 20% accuracy. The worry with Eduardo, he's just coming in here very old and on a layoff. He's just a pretty stiff striker, I'd say. So you don't know what form he's truly showing up in. But historically, his issues have come in the ground, and Perez doesn't really pose problems there. So a little bit off the board. Fight has a decent chance of finishing quickly, but I'm just going to take my chances with this one just based on Perez's reputation.
Yep, don't hate that. For me, it's going to be Rosa, Correia, and like I said, this was very tough for me because I'm actually not going to completely outright fade Rosa because, like you mentioned, AJ, she does score very well. She throws a ton of volume in a fight where she didn't have any takedowns against Procopio. She still scored 112 points, landing 171 significant strikes. So that's what kind of concerns me here. But like Weezy said, Bethe Correia has very good takedown defense. I don't know if Rosa is going to be able to get it down to the mat, and if this does play outstanding for 15 minutes. She probably does win by decision. She probably just throw a lot of volume, but will it be enough to get in the optimal lineup? Potentially, but I do think there's other options that I do like more personally. But again, I'm not going to be completely fading Karol Rosa because I do think she has some upside there with the insane volume that she does throw, and I do think she's somewhat safe. But there are some other plays I do like better, like I mentioned. Anything else sticking out to you guys in terms of a fade? All right, then we'll get to our fighter to fade. I'll start this one out. For me, it's going to be Bethe Correia. I'm taking the easy way out here once again, like I did last week with Lauren Murphy. But just looking up top, there's not a fighter I would completely go out there and fade. But looking down, I don't really see myself getting to Bethe Correia all that much. Like somebody mentioned in the chat, this is going to be her fifth retirement fight. Karol Rosa, I do like the volume quite a bit. And, maybe she can take her down. Bethe Correia has been taken down before, although it's just like a high 80% takedown defense. Karol Rosa is, solid wrestling. If she can get it down the mat, I can see her have success there. So, yeah, I just don't really see Bethe Correia having much success. Maybe she can make it, somewhat close, but I don't know. I'm not feeling it. So, for me, my fate of the week is going to be Bethe Correia. AJ, what is going to be your fate of the week?
Yeah, the reason why I was tripping up on that last category was because my fighter to fade is going to be Douglas Silva de Andrade at 9,200. Wanted to choose something a little different. He historically just doesn't score very well on DraftKings. Just a moderately paced striker, goes for takedowns at times, but he's not particularly a strong grappler. Prilla, we've seen him struggle there in the past. But the lack of urgency, it just makes me, be a little bit off of de Andrade. He's now dropping down to bantamweight after fighting up at featherweight. Older guy for the weight class, much younger guy in Perillo. Statistically, that favors him. Don't think he's a defensively sound striker. That the risk is maybe de Andrade could knock him out. But on the plus side, de Andrade has not earned a knockdown since November 2016. So again, of the options in the top tier, Perez and de Andrade are my least favorite. I could see potential in them, but due to the more grappling and higher paced upside with the other options and perceived better chance of finishing inside the distance, this is just personally a chance I'm willing to take and be underweight too.
There you go. Clint saying his fade of the week every week is Bethe Correia. Shout out to Clint for hanging out. Asphalt in the chat as well. Dave in the chat. Tajik, thank you guys for hanging out. If you all going to hit the like button, that'd be much, much appreciated. We'll go over to Luke now. Luke, who is your fighter to fade for this week?
So I'm actually kind of going on the other side of AJ here. I'm going with Perello at 7K flat. In my opinion, I just don't think he's a UFC caliber fighter. I think you definitely raised a lot of good points, though. AJ, I think this also could actually fall into just the fight to fade in general category for me, which could bite us in the butt. But can't take anything away from the guy. Debuting against Simone on short notice, got tossed around, but his strength of competition just historically has been pretty low, and I just don't really like what I've seen from him in multiple capacities. Andrade is a pretty tough dude. He's shown to be durable. Even if Perello is able to make this fight closer, and even if he's able to squeak a win, I still think there's so much finish potential, even in this 7K range, that it's not even going to be enough for an optimal, even in like a decision-based win. So at 7K, I'm not going to have many shares of Perello. And then
Weezy, who is your fade of the week?
Yeah, I thought I was being different with going with the Perello de Andrade fight, but I'm going to be fading de Andrade here. De Andrade only 10 takedown attempts in 8 fights. He's gotten 5 of them, but if you look at the control time that this guy has accrued, it's like less than 4 minutes of control time on 5 career takedowns. So even when he does take somebody down, he doesn't hold them there. And I think he's going to give Perello the fight that Perello wants. And De Andrade, like AJ mentioned, coming back down from 145 now to 135 pounds. And when you look at this guy at 145, there's no weight for him to lose. I don't understand how this guy's going to get back down to 135. I think he might be chinny when he's down there at that weight. And Perello, a Muay Thai world champion, the guy is really nasty on the feet. I kind of like Perello actually in this fight. And I think Silva de Andrade, because there's very little grappling upside there, even against somebody as defensively weak as Perello, we just haven't seen that out of de Andrade in the 8 fights that he's had in the UFC. So I think this is going to be a stand-up battle, and I think he's going to give Perello the fight that he wants. And I don't even know if he wins this fight, to be honest with you. So I'm fading de Andrade here.
There we go. Seems like most of us are on the same page here. So I say we get into the next section here, and it's going to be the favorite dog of the week. We'll start with Luke. Who is your favorite dog for this week?
I'm going Cirkunov at 7.6K. Obviously, there is some potential volatility with it being his debut down at 185 pounds for the first time in his career at 34 years old. So there's definitely going to be some monitoring here post weigh-ins in terms of how much I build him in, but assuming he makes the weight fine, he falls into my favorite dog category just because historically, how the guy's losing, he's getting knocked out by some bigger hitters, but I don't think Jotko's the biggest hitter in the world. He doesn't really push much of an overall pace. His takedown defense is pretty good, so I guess that's where the question becomes whether Cirkunov can get the fight to the ground or not, but I think he's going to have significant strength advantages in this fight, and if he does get it down, he's got a pretty significant grappling edge, in my opinion. Jotko is also just shown to slow down later in fights, and Cirkunov has the 9th best ITD line and the 2nd highest ITD line of any dog behind Johnny Walker overall. He's only plus 130 to win the fight, and I have just not been a big fan of Jotko. I don't think he's looked good in probably the last 5 years outside of his fight with Amedovski. So we'll see how Cirkunov looks at 185, but I think at 7.6K he could score very well.
Yeah, really curious to see how he does look on the skills. That will be something to monitor. AJ, what are you looking at for your favorite dog this week?
Yeah, I'm going to be dropping down to Kyle Daukaus at 7,700. He's taking on Kevin Holland, who it's no secret at this point. He just has atrocious takedown defense at 47%. I get it. He's probably improving, but even when he gets taken down, shoulders to the mat, he just doesn't have a lot of urgency to scramble. Daukaus, not a great wrestler, but he's a capable one. Also a very good submission grappler. And I just see the potential with him getting takedowns, earning control time, and he could even get a submission against Holland. MMA math isn't the most reliable thing. We know that, but Kyle Daukaus, it's noteworthy that he out-wrestled Brendan Allen in terms of just the takedown war, and Brendan Allen did the same thing to Kevin Holland, like the opposite scenario. So I do think there's potential here for Daukaus, sneaky submission upside, but even if he doesn't and just gets a win based on control, I think he could score sufficiently for his price point.
Yeah, that's all. If Daukaus does win, you got to think it's going to be, takedowns, control time, and I do think it scores well also. Weezy, who is your favorite dog for this week?
Yeah, I went with Cirkunov as well. I kind of even like him at this line. Jotko, I'm basically just going to say everything that Luke just said. I'm not impressed with Jotko. Cirkunov moving down makes Cirkunov kind of doing the things that Jotko does well at 185, but he's going to be the bigger guy. He's going to be the stronger guy. He's going to be much easier being able to control his opponent than the other way around. So, and then you look at Cirkunov's wins, 100% of them in the UFC inside the distance, and all the losses inside the distance too. So you're looking at, no matter who wins this fight, them having a very high ceiling. Since I think Cirkunov is going to win this fight, I'm going to pick him as my dog of the week.
Yep, I'm with you as well. I'm on Cirkunov. I do like the price tag quite a bit. Mentioned the Jotko takedown defense, but yeah, he's going to be the bigger guy. He's going to be the stronger guy. If you can't get on top of Jotko, he's going to be an absolute problem there. And like you mentioned, he has not seen the scorecards thus far in the UFC. Either it's him getting a finish or him getting finished himself. And Jotko has like one of the worst finish rates on the entire slate, 32% finish rate, which I think may be the worst on the entire slate, actually. So, I mean, maybe Jotko could finish Cirkunov, but I'm more confident in Cirkunov going out there and getting a finish himself. Anything else sticking out to you guys in terms of a dog play? All right, so we will move on to our favorite GPP play. When we talk about GPP, we're talking about high upside, high ceiling, a fighter that can potentially win you a tournament. And we'll start with AJ. AJ, who is your favorite GPP play for this week?
Yeah, I like Uncle Weezy and Luke's selection on the last category because Cirkunov is my selection for this one. I know it's a bit bold saying your favorite GPP play is an underdog, but that's just what I'm going to roll with because I love Cirkunov's upside on DraftKings when he wins. He's historically a very dangerous finisher. I think he's better than Jotko everywhere, better striker even, much better submission grappler, and kind of like Rosa struck that we glossed over last week. If you look at his stats, 80% takedown defense, Jotko 87, but then you just go back and it's like, historically, he really hasn't been tested a whole lot there, not nearly against a guy as physical or as good as Cirkunov. So, and even going back when he fought David Branch, he got taken down a couple times there. So Cirkunov has been able to put really good submission grapplers like Jim Crute in finishing, compromising positions and get the thing done, which equates to a big score. Potentially, he could even get a knockout on the feet. I think Jotko's durability is on the decline. Getting knocked out by Brad Tavares isn't the best look. Tavares, he's a great striker, but not a big puncher. And he was also wobbled badly there by Strickland. So I think as long as Cirkunov just doesn't falter from like a big shot or something like that, he wins the fight. And as you guys mentioned before, Jotko historically not a big puncher. The last knockout he got was against Tandem McQuarrie back in 2016. He hurt Uriah Hall, but again, historically mainly a decision fighter. So I like this fight from a stylistic perspective for Cirkunov, and I think that he's very likely to be on the optimal lineup if he wins.
I like it. Weezy, what are you looking at for your favorite GPP play this week?
Yeah, I'm going with Alejandro Perez, actually. And I know that's kind of a weird selection here, but I think he's going to be kind of lower owned. I think it's the first fight of the night. And he's fighting Johnny Eduardo, who's now 43 years old. And I watched some tape recently on Eduardo. And it's kind of funny. I mean, he kind of goes in there with what I would call the Bob Sapp game plan, where he says, all right, I'm going to give you all I have for about 90 to 120 seconds. And then if I don't find a win by then, I'm just going to find that door as fast as possible. And if you want to find somebody, if you want to watch some tape and find somebody, like go find the door, please watch yourself some Johnny Eduardo fights. This guy will quit with the best of them. And Alejandro Perez is a tough dude. He's coming off a nasty knockout from Song Yadong 2 years ago. It was a punch he didn't see, and it was absolutely devastating. But at least Turbo Perez here he's got some gas left in the tank. Eduardo's 43, and he looked like he was quitting back when he was 38. So I think, I love this fight not to go to decision because even Eduardo is really, he's really dangerous early. He's a great striker, a Nova União guy. But, I just think that Perez is going to be way better everywhere. And I think that he's actually got something to fight for here. And a really good UFC record, too, for Perez. He's been around the block, and he's got some decent wins. Well, you got to feel like this is like, let's get Eduardo this last fight so that we can get his ass out of here. So I see Perez winning this one early, probably in the first round. And if Eduardo does make it to the first, I think he'll look for the door really early in the second.
Yeah, I like that fight doesn't go to decision as well. Speaking of fight doesn't go to decision, Niko Price is going to be my favorite GPP plays, 80,400. And, when Niko Price does win, it is, inside the distance. He has a 92% finish rate. And we do see that Oliveira has been finished a ton of times in his career. He's not been knocked out much, but he has been submitted once. He has been hurt a lot. He got hurt in his last fight and then ultimately submitted. But yeah, I think Price is going to be the more dangerous fighter in this fight. Kind of reckless, but it's just so dangerous. If he does win, it's going to put up a high score. A 92% finish rate, like I said. Oliveira has been finished 6 out of 9 losses. You take a look at some of Niko Price's wins. When he does win, it's scoring a ton. 107 DraftKings points, 114, 94, 102. So when he is winning, there's a good chance it is going to be on the optimal lineup. And it's just really hard to trust Cowboy Oliveira. Sometimes he shows up, sometimes he has not. And, my opinion, has not looked all that great in his last few fights. I think Niko Price is the hungrier fighter. I think he goes out here and finishes Oliveira. And at 8,400, if I can get a finish from him, I think that's pretty solid there. Luke, what are you looking at for your favorite GPP play?
Yeah, I thought I was maybe being like semi-sneaky, but I'm going to echo your sentiments with Price as well. My large reasoning, and not because I just am in love with Price necessarily in terms of the matchup but from a DraftKings perspective, he scored no fewer than 94 points in W's. You know what you're getting out of Niko Price pretty much time in and time out. He's going to go out, he's going to throw a lot of strikes, he's going to cause chaos, and he's just kind of one of those killer be killed fighters. So, there's definitely some boom or bust components on him in that capacity. But to your point as well, Brady, we just never know really which cowboy Oliveira is going to show up. And to your point, he's been finished in the large majority of his UFC losses as well. But a big point of why I guess I would classify it as my quasi favorite play is that I just think there is so much boom or bust also, even in the price tags above Price at 8.4. So I think you have more wiggle room to squeak him into a lot more of your lineups and, perceivably getting, taking a lesser price than, paying like, potentially an 8.7 for a Devonte Smith, or even up to some of the other higher guys too, who could very well get finished or just generally beat. So at 8.4, I like Price.
Yeah, I really do. Excuse me. I really do like that price tag. Anything else sticking out to you guys in terms of a tournament play?
I love Aspen Ladd. She's probably my favorite for a tournament play. I just feel like her upside is tremendous in a win scenario. We've seen Chiasson struggle in terms of defending takedowns, and that's Ladd's wheelhouse. So could get a finish, could get a lot of control, and I think she's probably optimal if she comes through with the W.
Yep, I do like Ladd as well. Jacob saying, why is the Young Egger fight not on DK? I'm not sure. That is weird, right? Anybody know why it's not? The fight's still on, right?
It's still on. Yeah, it was just I think it might have been added late, and they probably just got behind. But yeah, there's really no good reason for it not to be there.
Yeah, for sure. Buff was saying Aspen going to be like 5% owned. I don't know about that low owned, but she should be pretty low owned, right, compared to the people around her, right?
I don't know, man. Aspen Ladd racks up points, dude. She gets a lot of top control time. She wins. She finishes fights too. So I'm gonna own a decent amount of Aspen Ladd. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm with you there for sure. So we'll go to our favorite cash play now. We'll start with Weezy. Weezy, what is your favorite cash play for this week?
I like Devonte Smith this week. I'm kind of a fan of his, but I just see this as having knockout written all over it. When I think of Jamie Mullarkey, I think of that performance in the Fares-Siam fight, and I think that Devonte Smith is just a way more dangerous form of Fares-Siam. And Siam won that fight because Mullarkey was afraid to engage. And unfortunately, he wasn't good enough not to engage for long enough for the fight for Siam to get the better of him, because it just looked like Mullarkey was scared on the feet. So he attempted to grapple, but he wasn't all that successful. He got 5 out of 11 takedowns, but didn't control enough of the fight on the ground in order to get the decision. And if he's not able to control Devonte Smith on the feet, he's going to get slept. Smith hits like a truck. He's incredibly accurate, and he's ridiculously fast. This is not even close on the feet, in my opinion. So I'm going to be going with Devonte Smith.
Yep, I will have my fair share of Devonte Smith for sure. AJ, what are you looking at for your favorite cash play?
I'm going to go with Alexander Hernandez up at 9,400. I know that he's not like the most trustworthy guy in a vacuum. He's coming off of a fight where he's a pretty decent sized favorite against Thiago Moises and lost the fight. But now he's facing an opponent who he's just much more prepared for this bout. An opponent that's susceptible to calf kicks. And as a fighter who has thrown them in the past and trains at Factory X Muay Thai, I think Hernandez has a lot of damage to beat up the lead leg of Breeden. I think he's a better wrestler, better athlete, and he's got one of the best finish props on the board. So if you're given a guy that's, got all these advantages and the metrics check out, I know that historically he's not been the most reliable, but it's a matchup to matchup basis. And this is one of the easier matchups he's had in his whole UFC career, if not his most winnable one. So I like Hernandez here.
Yep, I'm going to agree with you there, AJ. I do like Hernandez as well at 9,400. I just think he's another level above, Breeden here. I actually think he has a good chance of finishing him as well, like you mentioned. And he does feel really safe. I think Karol Rosa is also somebody else you can feel comfortable in a cash setting. But yeah, Hernandez is the biggest favorite on the card. Like you said, one of the best finish upsides on the card as well. I think Hernandez is, probably going to go out here and knock this guy out. Luke, what are you looking at for your favorite cash play?
Yeah, I think Hernandez is a great selection, but I guess my official play is just going to be Hosa to be a little bit different. Correia, worst ITD line on the slate, touchdown, 38 years old. Retirement, she's eaten more significant strikes in her last 3 fights than she has in any of her other fights prior, which I think is a pretty telling number and stat. It's one of those spots that just, it's kind of the writing on the wall, the passing of the torch in some capacities. She's just consistent to always do things. She's only been submitted. Correia hasn't really shown much of a grappling based game. She's got an okay, inside the distance line. So at 9.3K, I think she is one of the safer spots on the card, right behind Hernandez too.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Aldo saying Rosa for cash. I say, why not both? Why not both Rosa and Hernandez? I do like that as well. Anything else sticking out to you guys in terms of a cash play, or do you guys want to move on? All right, so we will move on to the next section here. We have favorite value play. So we'll start with Luke. Luke, what is your favorite value play for this week?
I'm going Johnny Walker, 7.4. He's only plus 140 to win the fight and has the best inside the distance line of any dog on the slate at plus 175. He's also got the 4th best first round prop of the entire slate, 94% finish rate of that 94% of the time. 83% of that time is coming in the first round. I think we all kind of know what to expect from Johnny Walker. It's obviously a very boom or bust spot, but if he does win, it's most likely early. It's most likely by knockout. Santos has been dinged a few times in his own right, and he's not necessarily always reliable to wrestle and has engaged in the firefight, which is largely, what Johnny Walker can succeed into. So at 7.4K, I think he has a tremendous amount of value for his potential finish upside and round 1 upside.
Agree there. Weezy, what are you looking at for your favorite value play? My bad.
I'm going to go with Joe Solecki, actually. A low-priced favorite that I think has a ton of grappling upside here, and I think he's actually got some finish upside as well. But I do see Solecki, kind of racking up quite a bit of control time here. I like him to win this fight quite a bit, and I see this fight taking place in control time positions, probably over 75% of the time. And in those control time positions, I think he's just going to be a lot better than Gordon. So I think he's sitting at 84 or 8,300. Yep. I think that's a really good price, and in a win, I could see him scoring well over 90, even 100 points if he gets an early finish, especially with his grappling.
Yeah, for sure. If Joe Solecki is able to implement his game plan, there's a good chance that he does rack up a ton of points. AJ, what are you looking at for your favorite value play?
Yeah, I'm going to go over to Jamie Mullarkey down at 7,500, and this is more so like a, what if scenario if Smith has not improved his defensive grappling since the regionals. Interesting stat about Smith is he's never been the distance in his pro career, so there's really no evidence to suggest he could really stuff takedowns for 15 minutes and win a decision. To Weezy's point earlier, I do think he's a better striker, but as Luke touched on even, earlier on in the show, I do have questions about Smith's durability, at least to some extent. He was knocked out by Worthy, but he was even rocked by Justin James there. So I know Mullarkey's not the biggest hitter. He's also pretty stiff on the feet, as Weezy alluded to, not just pretty rudimentary, not the most technical guy. But I'm willing to take a chance on him because if he does win, it's probably by a finish or he just gets a lot of takedowns and control time. So I'm not uber confident in him to win. As a matter of fact, it's one of my favorite fights to target on the card between him and Smith, but a value guy that I don't think will get a ton of ownership that has a pretty high upside if he wins. So I'm interested in Jamie Mullarkey at 7,500.
Yeah, I do have some interest in him myself, but the guy I did go with, for me, it's going to be Johnny Walker. I'm going to agree with Luke here, 7,400. When Johnny Walker wins, thus far in the UFC, it has been in the first round. At 7,400, he has a ton of upside. I have some serious concerns about how hittable he is. I have some serious concerns about his gas tank, but again, if he does win, I'm looking for that first round upside, and he is somebody that definitely does bring that. And at 7,400, I'm definitely willing to take some shots there. Anything else sticking out to you guys in terms of value? All right, so we have Billy in the chat. What is up, Billy? How you doing? Moving on to our favorite dart throw. Favorite dart throw, and we will start with Luke. Luke, who's your favorite dart throw for this week?
Yeah, I'm really dumpster diving on this one. I'm going Johnny Eduardo actually at 7.1K. Obviously hasn't fought in 2.5 years, is 41 years old. As a result, he'll most likely be low owned. I know he's extremely boomer bust, but does have a 75% finish rate in his W's. And to be frank, I just don't really love Alejandro Perez's overall game. He's not overtly high output. He hasn't won the large majority of his fights in the UFC. Even the ones that have went to the cards for him, even if they've been unanimous in certain scenarios, have been reasonably close. And Johnny Eduardo, to even Weezy's point early, it might be in a smaller time frame, but the guy is going to force action. He's going to force a fight, and Perez will bite the mouthpiece and throw. So I think there's going to be opportunities for Eduardo to ding him. And as touched on, I just think he's going to be extremely low owned this week. So I do think he's kind of one of the more potential sneaky dart throws, because I think the ITD line on the fight as a whole is actually pretty decent.
Yeah, for me, speaking of low owned, this is a really weird one for me. So my low owned dart throw is going to be Krzysztof Jotko, 8,600. I just crapped on him a little bit ago, but you take a look at Cirkunov, and when Cirkunov does lose, it is inside the distance. He's been knocked out 4 times. He's been submitted twice as well. Win or lose, it seems like Cirkunov fights do end inside the distance. And although Jotko's not a finisher, I could potentially maybe see a finish at 8,600. I don't think anybody's really going to play him, and I could see him maybe getting a finish here. So I'll take the upside there. I'll take the low ownership. I'm more on the Cirkunov side, like I said, but at 8,600, I'm expecting very, very low ownership. I wouldn't be shocked if he did give Cirkunov like his 7th finish loss in his career. Weezy, what are you looking at here for your favorite dart throw?
Just one quick note. Luke's the second person I've heard say that Johnny Eduardo is 41 years old this week. According to UFC stats, he was born in 1978. He's 43 years old. And I'm not sure where else the ages are, but somebody's off. Either UFC stats is off and I'm wrong at 43, or whoever's got him listed at 41 is wrong.
Tapology has 41, I think, Weezy.
Okay, yeah. Well, UFC stats has I brought up his page, and I want everybody to know exactly how old Johnny Eduardo is. August 3rd, 1978. So yeah, he's 43. So anyway, that's really here nor there, because my dart throw this week is going to be Antonina Shevchenko.
Ooh.
Why? I don't know. Why is that? Hang on just a second here. Oh, yeah. Okay. So Casey O'Neill, right? If we're looking at a dart throw, I think Casey O'Neill is actually going to be a pretty popular pick. And we do know that Casey O'Neill is very, very hittable. On the feet, she could be in trouble. So if we're looking at Casey O'Neill's striking defense, we are going to find a number that leads us to, for Christ's sake, I can't find her on my sheet. Casey O'Neill's striking defense is 38.71%. She got cracked by Procopio. She got cracked by Dobson a couple of times. So if Casey O'Neill is unable to get this fight to the ground, which she should be able to, but you never know. It seems like every other fight, Antonina Shevchenko gives us some hope that she's improving in the grappling. Like, she got bodied by Modafferi and then subbed Pudilova. She got bodied by Chukagian, and then she ground and pounded Lipsky out. Now she just got bodied by Lee and submitted by her. So we got to figure she's going to bounce back with her grappling, look like she's made some improvements, and then she can go out there and get her ass shaved 2 fights from now. But in this one, I'm thinking that if she stops the takedowns and lands a couple big shots on O'Neill, she could derail the hype train, and you can get a fighter that's probably less than 15% owned, maybe even less than 10% owned, being optimal at 7,200.
Yeah, man, I don't hate that call. I mean, you mentioned the terrible striking defense. If she's not able to get Shevchenko down to the mat, what's going to happen, right? And O'Neill has not really fought the best competition. Dobson has since retired, I think, and then Procopio, although I don't agree with it, she's been cut from the UFC. AJ, what are you looking at in terms of a dart throw?
Yeah, it's a dart throw indeed, because I'm pivoting over to the mystery fight, the fight that's not even on the board yet. I'm going to assume that Stephanie Egger is at 8,200. I actually think she's got a lot of grappling upside here. I know she didn't have the best showing in her debut, but theoretically she shouldn't have to worry about stuffing takedowns against Young here. Young, that's been her issue, right? I mean, we saw her taken down in the Contender Series, get her back taken. Same thing against Macy Chiasson, taken down, get controlled. Egger, judo background, also has a submission grappling background as well. historically an early finisher. So I don't think many people will play her, especially with her being added late to the player pool. We're not just making dart throws on here. It feels like we're making some Hail Mary. So if any of our plays come through, I feel like they'll come through in a big way at a low ownership. So off the board here, just like you guys, but I really feel like this has a true upside if it comes through.
Yeah, for sure. I like all of them. So anything else stick out to you guys in terms of a very low owned dart throw?
I was looking at Perello as well. He got his ass shaved by Simone in the debut. So, I mean, we saw a guy just absolutely have nothing for Ricky Simon. So maybe, this time people are just like, no way I'm taking this guy. But, we talked about Andrade not being much of a wrestler. He prefers to stand. And if he gives the Muay Thai world champion a stand-up fight, Perello could surprise some people, open some eyes.
Luke, you were saying something?
Yeah, I was gonna say I like Weezy's shot on Shevchenko. To me, it's a pretty binary fight. I think the levels between the two on the feet are pretty gigantic. O'Neal, very, very untested. Oceanic Regional, seen low level competition. Shinna Dobson retired, as you noted. Procopio actually won the first round and then just randomly death gassed for the first time in her entire career. I'll give O'Neal props for out grappling a black belt. I don't think that was in anybody's Rolodex, but if O'Neal can't get this fight down, man, I think Shevchenko's very alive, and I think her ITD line, even at plus 550, is potentially a little off in that capacity. So we'll see.
Yeah, I can't disagree there at all. So if you guys are in the chat, just type in some questions. We'll get to them real quick here. I do want to go through the contest last week. We'll see who the winner was, and then we'll give our lineups for this week as well. Looking forward to that. It's going to be a very interesting week, so looking forward to see how we all do. So last week, shout out to Uncle Weezy, by the way, for tallying up all the points. Appreciate you, Weezy, and for getting those to me. So in fourth place was Weezy. Weezy, you can't win them all, man. You've been killing it, but you did have, let me see if I can bring it up, Shevchenko, Blades, Daukaus, Pierce, Ortega, and Calvillo, which, wasn't a terrible lineup by any means. So fourth place,
fine wine. I'm in the cellar this week. That's all right. We're going to get out of there.
Yeah, for sure. But like I said, not a terrible lineup. You had 488.94 points. In third place was Luke. Luke, you had Simmelsberger, Marab, who went off, Volkanovski, Diaz, Ortega, and Hackprast. Luke did have 552.49 points. Great performance as well. And then in second place was AJ. He had 559.89 DraftKings points plus Roxanne Modafferi. I'm not sure what she scored, but AJ does.
I couldn't figure that one out. I was looking through scores. I had a bunch of shit going on, but I know that he placed second because he was a little bit better than Luke and not up to your level. So sorry.
No, for sure. Shevchenko, Volkanovski, Ortega, Lawler, Roxanne Modafferi, and then Merab Dvalishvili. And then in first place, I get back in the win column here. I had Blades, Merab, Volkanovski, Maximov, Pierce, and Ortega scoring 658.94 DraftKings points. Use that lineup in Clint's contest. Clint, I don't know if you're in here, but I don't think the contest didn't go through, which sucked. I feel like it would have been pretty good. But yeah, it feels good to get back in the win column. We'll see what happens this week as well. So I guess we can start giving our lineups, then we'll get to the questions and head out of here. Weezy, what is your lineup for this week?
Okay, the lineup is going to be from most expensive to cheapest. I'm going to start with Alejandro Turbo Perez. We're going to go with Devonte Smith at 8,700, Kevin Holland at 8,500, Niko Price 84, Joe Solecki 83, and then bringing up the rear, we got the Belgian Italian Gaetano Perello 7,000.
Hey, there you go. Shout out to Skywalker in the chat. Connor Mac picks. What's up, Connor? How you doing? Freddie in the chat saying, Weezy, when did you start kicking the man bun? You always been doing that, right?
Yeah, it's always been back there. I got, really long hair, but I can't wear it down. It looks like 100% rat ass right now. So it's always been tied back in the bun. It's just that, I'm always looking straight at the camera, so you really can't see it, but it's back there. Yeah.
There you go. Luke, what is your lineup for this week?
I'm going Hernandez, Hossa, Price, Gordon, Cirkunov, and Walker.
Wow, we're very close, Luke. For me, I'm going to go Cirkunov, Hernandez, Rosa, Walker, Price, and then Mullarkey. So, yeah, we're very close there. And then AJ, What are you looking at for your lineup?
I'm going to go with Correia, Perillo, O'Neal, Ladd, Hernandez, and Santos. Wanted to jam in the big favorites and punt myself down.
There you go. Yeah, curious to see how we all do this week. We'll give our quick picks here, and then I say we get into the questions for the chat, starting with AJ. AJ, do you have your quick picks ready?
I do. I'm going to go with Santos, Daukaus, Price, Cirkunov, Ladd, Hernandez, Gordon, O'Neal, Rosa, Mullarkey, De Andrade, Egger, Perez.
Luke, what are your quick picks for this card?
Santos, Holland, Price, Cirkunov, Ladd, Hernandez, Gordon, O'Neal, Rosa, Smith, Andrade, Egger, and Perez.
So for me, I'll go with Santos, I'll go Holland, I'll go Price, I'll go Cirkunov, Ladd, Hernandez, Gordon. I'll go O'Neal, Rosa, Devonte Smith, Andrade, Egger, and then Perez. Weezy, what are your quick picks for this week?
All right, I'm going to go with Walker with very little confidence, and then I'm going to go Holland, Price, Cirkunov, Ladd, Hernandez, Solecki, O'Neal, Rosa, Smitty, Perillo, Young, and Perez.
Sounds good. So let's start with the questions here. This one, we'll go to AJ. AJ, are you guys looking for a stack in cash with the main event fight unlikely going to the distance?
Probably not right now, unless if we get some sort of glaring odds value. Say if like Walker becomes like a pick'em or a favorite as we approach fight time, then he'd be more of a consideration. But as the odds currently stand, I'd prefer Santos if I had to play one or the other.
Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know if I would stack that as well. We'll give this one to Luke. Luke, do you think Macy is worth having a decent amount given her low cost?
I don't know. I guess I'm more so on a bit more of the Ladd side as well. I think there's just more general upside for Ladd in the fight. But yeah, I mean, I guess if you're trying to be different, there's definitely some merit to that. You know, Ladd's hittable too, but I guess I'm more so on the Macy side from even a DraftKings perspective, even at a higher price tag.
Weezy, we'll stick with you here. Same thing. Do you think Macy is worth having a decent amount given her low cost?
Yeah, I'm also on the Ladd side, but I'm a fan of Macy Chiasson. She's very good. She's huge for the division. She's gonna have like a 6-inch reach advantage. She's gonna be 5 inches taller. If let's just say that Lena Landsberg fight was a one-off, it was a fluke loss for her. Maybe she is strong enough to handle with Ladd there. Maybe she can clinch her up. Maybe she can land some big knees. I think she's got some value down there at 7,300. And the other thing that we need to talk about with that fight that's very important, both of these ladies have had a really hard time making weight in the past. So we should really kind of wait and see how they look on the scale. If Aspen Ladd looks on the scale anything like she looked in the Durandamy fight, I wouldn't mind having a ton of Chiasson. So, I think this is one of these fights, both of these ladies cutting a ton of weight. You got to wait to see them on the scale. And then once you do that, you'll get a really good idea of where the value is. Because if Aspen Ladd looks great, I think she might be under-owned at 8,900. And if Aspen Ladd looks crappy like she did in the Jermaine Durandamy fight, yeah, Macy Chiasson at 7,300 could be really interesting in that situation.
Yeah, I don't hate it. So I'm looking through the fights to see which ones we didn't really touch on the most. So Luke, any hot takes on Shanna Young versus Stephanie Egger?
Yeah, I haven't done the deepest dive on this one yet, but it seems like all the sharp money has came in on Egger, and just from what I know about both girls historically, makes sense. Egger, strong judo girl, Young historically struggles on the ground, kind of needs a little bit of a rock'em sock'em type of fight. Egger probably in general, at least from how the line opened, getting a bit undervalued based on the Cortez fight, but that matchup really has no stylistic merit to the Young fight. So yeah, at least more in-depth research, I like Egger.
And then another fight that we didn't really talk about much. AJ, any hot takes on Solecki versus Gordon?
I think it's a tough fight to call. I mean, I think it's a good one to target both sides, but we don't really know how Solecki will react to the type of pace that Gordon will push. He may get tired. He may slow down. I don't have that answer. And so it's kind of just an unknown fight. But when it comes to fights where you're just not really sure of, I think it creates for the ownership to be lower on the fight overall. Market tends to side with more certainty, sure things, bigger favorites, things like that. So I definitely think that Gordon, based on his reputation, should bring out an action fight where theoretically the winner could score well, whether it's him or Solecki.
Sounds good. Any other fights you guys want to talk about? I think we covered pretty much all of them, but anything else you guys want to say? All right, so I guess that is it. We'll kick it around. Uncle Weezy, let them know where they can find you and what you have going on throughout the week.
So tonight I'll be going live after the Contender Series, 10 o'clock Central Time for Just the Tip. I'll be doing my full card breakdown, and I will finish it off with Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. Who will it be this week? You'll have to wait and see until 11 o'clock to find out tonight. But yeah, other than that, you can find me right here on Pub Sports Radio every Sunday night for Stat Diggers with DFS by the numbers. You can find me right here for this show every Tuesday at 6. And yeah, that's MMA Weezy on Twitter. That's it.
Yeah, man, I'm really excited to see who you're going to pick for your ass shaving because I have no clue who you're going to go with here. So that should be fun. I can't wait to tune in tonight. And then Luke, where can they find you? What do you have going on throughout the week?
At Twitter, at SWR_betting, patreon.com/SWR betting, bets, content, having a pretty solid year this year. If you guys are looking for another opinion, check it out. dailyfanmma.com, doing the Contender Series content and bets over there with them exclusively. Club and Sub podcasts Wednesday night on YouTube live with the gang at 10 Eastern.
There you go. Go check them out on Wednesday. And then AJ, what do you have going on throughout the week and where can they find you?
Yeah, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all AJ MMA betting. Got Bellator content posted. I moved on to big bets. Also got multiple bets up for this UFC event on Saturday. Going to do the UFC podcast soon. Going to do the write-up soon. But yeah, all that content should be in the works. I contribute to Daily Fan MMA, so I'll be contributing my content over there as well. And other than that, yeah, best of luck on the event.
There you go. Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. My full card breakdown is not out yet. Hoping to get that out hopefully tomorrow night. I'm a little behind. But yeah, guys, that's about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Had a fun show. Should be a very interesting slate and a fun slate, I feel like, as well. You guys can leave a like on your way out. Subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. It'd be much, much appreciated as always. And we will see you soon. Good luck for UFC Vegas 38.